In the early hours of a May morning in 1536, the air was cool and heavy with dew. Within the sombre confines of the Tower of London, a queen prepared for her final moments. Anne Boleyn, once the most powerful and envied woman in England, was to meet her end not in a royal palace surrounded by the trappings of power, but on a scaffold. Her crime? Being too much of what the world at that time could not accept in a woman, ambitious, intelligent, and perhaps too forward in her views. Anne's story began in a significantly less dramatic fashion. Her early years set the stage for her future influence and notoriety. Born around 1501 in Norfolk, England, into the politically ambitious Boleyn family, Anne was the daughter of Thomas Boleyn, a respected diplomat and courtier, and Elizabeth Howard, a member of the noble Howard family. Recognizing early on her potential to rise in the world, her family arranged for her to receive an education that was progressive for the era, especially for a woman. At just 12 years old, Anne was sent to the Netherlands to serve at the court of Margaret of Austria, the regent of the Netherlands, who was known for her patronage of the arts and education. Under Margaret's guardianship, Anne was exposed to a Renaissance humanist education, learning multiple languages including French, Dutch, and Latin. This experience not only sharpened her linguistic skills, but also introduced her to a world of political intrigue and diplomacy, laying a foundational understanding of the delicate art of courtiership. Her education continued in France, where she was transferred in 1514 to attend Mary Tudor, sister of Henry VIII, who was briefly married to the French king Louis XIV. After Mary Tudor's return to England, Anne remained at the French court, now serving Claude of France, the new French queen. This period of her life was crucial. The French court was renowned for its cultural sophistication and was at the forefront of fashion, art, and politics. Anne thrived in this environment, refining her natural charm and wit, and cultivating an elegant demeanour, all while absorbing the nuanced politics of one of Europe's most influential courts. During her years in France, Anne Boleyn became fluent in French, which later helped her charm the English court and the king himself. Her time in France also instilled in her a distinct sense of style and confidence that set her apart upon her return to England. Moreover, she developed an interest in religious reform movements which were gaining momentum across Europe. This interest would later influence her support for the English Reformation, marking her as a woman not only of style, but of substance and conviction. Thus, when Anne Boleyn returned to England in the early 1520s, she was no longer simply a courtier but a sophisticated, worldly woman poised to make a significant impact at the English court. Her education and experiences abroad equipped her with the arts of charm, wit, and political savvy, tools that she would use to captivate a king and alter the course of English history. Henry VIII's marriage to Catherine of Aragon had been troubled and fraught with disappointment, primarily due to their inability to produce a male heir to secure the Tudor dynasty. By the time Anne Boleyn returned from France and entered the English court, Henry's desperation for a son had reached a peak. Catherine was several years older than Henry and past the age of childbearing, and their only surviving child was a daughter, Mary. Anne Boleyn, vibrant and captivating, quickly caught the king's eye. Henry, initially just flirtatious, soon became deeply enamoured with Anne, drawn not only by her physical allure but by her sharp intellect and engaging personality. Unlike any woman he had known, Anne challenged Henry's ideas and conversed on matters of state and theology, with a confidence that both intrigued and charmed him. As Henry's infatuation grew, so did his resolve to make Anne his queen. However, Anne was no passive courtly lover. She refused to become just another mistress. She held out for marriage, a bold stance that both frustrated and enamoured Henry further. This decision forced Henry to seek a solution to his marriage problem, as Anne made it clear she would accept nothing less than a queen's crown. Henry's request for an annulment of his marriage to Catherine of Aragon was grounded in his claim that their union was cursed by God due to her prior marriage to his deceased brother, Arthur. He petitioned the Pope for an annulment, arguing that his marriage was never valid. However, the Pope, under the influence of Catherine's nephew, Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, hesitated and then refused the request, placing him in a precarious position with the powerful Spanish crown. Frustrated by the Pope's refusal and driven by his desire for Anne, Henry took the unprecedented step of breaking with the Roman Catholic Church. He was influenced by Anne's own reformist leanings and by reformist thinkers at court, who saw an opportunity to curtail the Church's power in England. With the passage of the Act of Supremacy in 1534, Henry declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England, thus rejecting papal authority and establishing a reformed Church of England. Anne and Henry married secretly in January 1533. Shortly after, Anne became pregnant, and Henry's need to legitimise the unborn child hastened the annulment of his marriage to Catherine through an ecclesiastical court he controlled. Anne's coronation in June 1533 was a lavish affair, signifying not just her personal triumph, but also a monumental shift in English religious and political life. As Queen, Anne embraced her role with a unique blend of grace and acumen. She patronised the arts, promoted educational reforms, and heavily influenced religious and charitable affairs, embodying the responsibilities of a queen with the vigour and foresight of a born sovereign. Her time as queen, however, would be overshadowed by the political and religious upheaval that her marriage had helped to unleash. Anne Boleyn's tenure as Queen of England was fraught with challenges from the start. Her marriage to Henry VIII had alienated many at court, including the powerful factions loyal to Catherine of Aragon and the Roman Catholic Church. Furthermore, Anne's intellect and assertiveness, which had once endeared her to Henry, began to chafe on the rigid expectations of a queen's role in the 16th century. Her troubles were compounded by her inability to provide a male heir. Although she gave birth to Elizabeth in 1533, the joy of her daughter's birth was overshadowed by the court's and the country's disappointment that she was not a boy. Subsequent pregnancies ended in miscarriages or stillbirths, which not only took a toll on Anne's health but also on her standing at court. Each failure to produce a male heir diminished her influence with Henry and provided ammunition for her enemies. By 1536, the political and personal alliances that had supported Anne's ascent were unravelling. Henry's affections had begun to wander to Jane Seymour, one of Anne's ladies-in-waiting, who presented a quieter and more submissive contrast to Anne's fiery persona. Meanwhile, Anne's outspokenness and her active role in matters of state, once celebrated by reformers, had started to alienate even her allies. Her precarious situation was exploited by Thomas Cromwell, Henry's chief minister, who had once been a staunch supporter of Anne but had grown increasingly alienated by her political influence. Cromwell orchestrated a plot against Anne, capitalising on Henry's growing disenchantment and his desire for a new wife who might bear him a son. In April 1536, Anne was arrested and charged with adultery, incest and high treason. These charges were largely based on coerced testimonies and circumstantial evidence, reflecting not only the machinations of her political rivals, but also the volatile and perilous nature of Tudor court politics. The trial was a farce, conducted by a jury that included her uncle and other men aligned with Cromwell and Henry. The predetermined verdict was a stark testament to the lethal stakes of royal favour in Henry's court. Despite Anne's eloquent self-defence, she was found guilty on all counts. Her marriage to Henry was annulled, and her daughter Elizabeth was declared illegitimate, further erasing her influence and legacy at court. On the scaffold, Anne showed a poise that stunned her onlookers. She spoke not of injustice, but of acceptance. "I pray God save the king," she said, "and send him long to reign over you, for a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never." With these words, she knelt down and met her fate. Anne Boleyn's death marked the end of her life, but not her influence. Her daughter, Elizabeth I, would go on to rule England for 45 years, ushering in a golden age of prosperity and cultural flowering known as the Elizabethan era. Elizabeth's strength, intelligence, and resilience were her mother's legacy, proving that even in her death, Anne's influence could not be extinguished. Today, Anne Boleyn is remembered not just as a tragic figure in the tapestry of British history, but as a woman who shaped her own destiny and in doing so altered the course of a nation. Her life and legacy continue to fascinate and inspire, a testament to the enduring power of a queen who refused to be a mere footnote in history.
If you would like to hear the story of a great woman in history, leave their name in the comments section below. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video or for more great content like this, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any more of my videos. As always, beautiful people, thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next one. Of Marie Antoinette of France, a queen whose lavish lifestyle and alleged indifference to the plight of the French people made her a target during the French Revolution. She was famously misquoted as saying, "Let them eat cake," which fueled public outrage. See you in the other videos. Goodbye for now.